Who remembers these four words? So what? Now what?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on everyone. I'm your host, Mark Hulkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. You can show your appreciation, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. It means a lot to the show. I can't tell you enough. And I don't want you to miss any one of the 5 episodes that comes at you 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, especially since we're almost here with fall camp. Hit that bell notification button. All right, look, I apologize. I pulled that Heltonism out, but I needed to get everybody's attention. I get it. USC didn't get a few commitments. So, look, I got everyone's attention. Let me ask all of you couch potato recruiting coaches. What do you want me or anyone else to do who's not on Lincoln Riley's staff to do about the recruits that aren't picking USC? And I get a lot of comments, I get a lot of feedback, and I appreciate it. I love it. Keep it coming. But what do you think if I start yelling and kicking and screaming like some of the Trojan fan base? Do you think that's going to change the outcome? I mean, for those of you who are doing the yelling and the kicking and the screaming, do you think that all of a sudden, if you keep it up, that Lincoln Riley's going to have some sort of epiphany? And then he's just going to fire Alex Grinch just a few days before the start of fall camp? Because if you think that way, you probably should reassess your thought process. You're not thinking straight. You're acting like a child. Look, Lincoln Riley has already made the decision. He's retained him. Alex Grinch is the defensive coordinator for 2023. And he explained why back in January. So let's just take a couple of minutes to review what Riley said. We're just a few days before fall camp starts. Fall camp starts on Friday. You can see on the rundown here, I'm actually going to be meeting with the USC assistant coaches and players on Thursday. That's the second segment of this show. But right now, what do you want to do about recruiting? Right? That's what we're talking about. What could have Lincoln Riley have done to change USC having where are they situated right now? Top 6 in the country? Top 10 for sure in July that everybody's so upset about? There's a little bit of nuance involved here. Like I said, back in January, Lincoln Riley sat down with the local media, took on all the questions, about 2 hours plus. And like I said, Alex Grinch will be answering questions on Thursday. So back in January, we were about less than 2 weeks after the loss in the Cotton Bowl to Tulane. This is what Lincoln Riley said, just to refresh everybody's memories. Right now, sitting here today, I don't anticipate any major staff changes. The idea is for us to have continuity, just us together, with our players, us in the setting, this school, kind of knowing what we want to build is important. I've been through it enough with that guy, he's referring to Alex Grinch, to know don't bet against him. I know what he's made of, I just do. I know what's getting ready to happen defensively. I just have a confidence and a belief there. We were very disappointed with how we finished defensively at the end of the year. We did not play very well, and I think last week has been starting to zero in and really define why did that happen. So, and if it wasn't, listen, I'm all for continuity. I think it's a good thing if you have the right people, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's not the right combination of people, or it's not the right setting or just doesn't quite click. And at that point, when that happens, then you have to make changes. Riley said he's nowhere near that point right now. This was back on January 10th or 11th, I believe, is when these comments came about. So, what Riley is counting on when we flash back to those comments is the infusion of talent on the defensive side of the ball. He's got it through the transfer portal. And, he wants that continuity of the returning players to come back bigger and stronger and faster in year 2. Well, if you've been paying attention, all over social media, you can see these guys. They've been hitting the weight room. They've been going full force during their summer workouts. So, bringing in another defensive coordinator, which would have been the third in 3 years for some of these guys, that potentially could have caused more issues. You lose the continuity when you're. It's one thing to replace a position coach. It's another thing to replace the coordinator, because now we're talking a philosophical change. Look, none of these players who told USC thanks but no thanks have signed their letters of intent yet. So while everybody is bitching and moaning that, Lincoln Riley retaining Alex Grinch is why, recruits like Kyngstonn Viliamu-Asa have decided not to come to USC. Look, no one has signed their letters of intent yet. And I'll say it again, like I said it on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. Mike Matthews, the wide receiver, and Taylor Tatum, the running back, those were wants. They were not needs for the 2024 class. Kyngstonn, he is a need. He plays linebacker, and he's from USC's backyard. So I agree with everybody who's upset that he was a must-get, at least from an optics point of view. There's always going to be players out there. There's no such thing as a must-get from, a player who's going to come in right away and make an immediate impact. Very few freshmen out there have that ability. Kyngstonn might have that ability. I don't know if he would have done that at USC at linebacker. It's possible. But here's what everyone needs to remember. What if USC's defense improves in 2023? We all anticipate it to happen. And if USC makes the playoffs, we all anticipate that happening. We want it to happen. So who's going to be right and who's going to be wrong? Okay? Lincoln Riley gambled. USC makes the playoffs in 2023. Should Lincoln Riley still replace Grinch after the season? He said it in January. If stuff doesn't get better, quote, and at that point, when that happens, then you have to make changes. We're not there right now. And let me look, for everybody who likes to leave their feedback in their comments, just because I like to try and accentuate the positive instead of the negative, that doesn't mean I don't care. It's called acting like an adult. You should try it sometime. Because I keep trying to remind everyone, look, there's still time to open the eyes of all these skeptical recruits, the ones on defense is who I'm referring to. I don't think anybody's really worried about recruiting offensive players at USC as long as Lincoln Riley's the head coach. I mean, again, if the defense improves and USC makes the playoffs, is it impossible to get some flips? Could KVA all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? I followed my faith in the decision to go to Notre Dame, but I'm really feeling it at USC. Aiden Breland, the defensive lineman from Mater Dei, is still out there. So is Edric Houston, the defensive lineman from Buford, Georgia. It's between USC and Ohio State right now. There's a linebacker named Chris Cole from Virginia. Jalen Harvey, a rush end, is still out there. Jericho Johnson, the defensive tackle from Northern California. There's still a lot of targets out there that USC is after. And the staff isn't going to stop evaluating players of guys who are going into their senior season of high school. So they're going to make more offers if they see guys who they think are worthy of taking up a spot in that 2024 class. So let's pump the brakes on all this woe is me complex. USC can't recruit, yada, yada, yada. And oh, by the way, if your car needs brakes, maybe you should check out eBay Motors. Because for every championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. And guess what? It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head on over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know your part will fit. Or you're going to get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to USC customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions will apply. All right. By the way, if you're looking for any type of customized USC license plates, when you're over there on eBay Motors, this is just a personal plug. Go check out Section 13 Graphics or TW Herd 13. You can find your USC stuff there. All right. Second segment of this show. Which players are you looking forward to hearing from this fall camp? On Thursday, the day before fall camp opens with practice, the local media is going to spend a few hours of their day with the assistant coaches and hear the players. And again, these guys are scheduled to talk with us, but stuff comes up. So everything right now is tentative. And but I want to remind, we did this last year. Katie Ryan, who is the sports information director for football, and I thought this really worked out well. So second time around, she made a little tweak that I think is going to actually make this work better. Instead of having one position group over here and another group over here, we're going to get one position group every 30 minutes. So, repping the offensive line is going to be Josh Henson as well. He's bringing these players with him: Justin Dietich, Jarrett Kyngstonn, Jonah Monheim, newcomers Emmanuel Pregnon and Michael Tarquin, as well as Gino Quinones. What's interesting is you've got 1 and 2 3 transfers. So this is going to be the first time meeting Emmanuel Pregnon, see what this young man's all about, his impressions of since he's gotten here from Wyoming. I don't know if you want to read too much into that, but out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, were those the starters? I have a feeling that the answer is yes. One of them is going to be rotating. Which one? A half hour later at 12:30, running backs and quarterbacks and the specialist. So Coach Kyle McDonald, he'll be there with the following players. You're going to have Jack Casasante, long snapper, Eddie Traplisky, punter. Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd are going to be representing the running backs. Dennis Lynch will be the kicker. And then Miller Moss at quarterback. A reminder, well, how come Caleb Williams won't be there? He was just in Vegas meeting with the national media as well as the local USC media who showed up. So he gets the day off. And the freshman Malachi Nelson still off limits until they get the official release to talk with the media. So again, any special questions you have for that group of players and coaches, submit them, send them on in. You got a couple days, and I will take them with me. And if I can squeeze it in, and it's a good question, I'll throw it out there. Then at 1 o'clock, you got the receivers and tight ends. So Coach Zach Hansen and Coach Luke Heward and Coach Dennis Simmons will be bringing with him Rayleigh Brown, Kyron Hudson, Lake McCree, Brendan Rice, Dorian Singer, Taj Washington, Mario Williams, and Michael Jackson III. Once again, a reminder, the freshmen will not be there, so no Makai Lemon, no Deuce Robinson, no Zachariah Branch. At some point during the fall camp, probably after fall camp and when they transition into fall practice, that's when those guys will probably be made available. That's usually how it works. So after the offense takes the first, hour and a half, the defense gets rolled out. And at 1:30, defensive line coach Sean Nua, he's going to be bringing with him Bear Alexander, Kyan Bars, Anthony Lucas, Jack Sullivan, and then 2 returning players, Tyrone Delaney and Solomon Tuliaupupu. Folks, this is the group that I think everybody is really focused on. It's the defense in general, but up front, in the trenches. Again, send in your questions, and I will do my best. That's every one of those guys. Bear, Keon, Anthony Lucas, Jack Sullivan. They are stepping into I don't want to say they're stepping into the fire because everybody anticipates them being the guys. Well, USC returns other guys. But Stanley Taofo, let's not forget about him. Kobe Pepe is still on the roster. And those guys, now they're not going to be relied upon, to have to play, 50 snaps, 100 snaps, 150 snaps per game. Now they can come in and be part of the rotation and really get off the ball. Guys like, Dejon Benton, they're still around. Let's not forget these guys. And if I didn't mention a name, it's because I'm just trying to do this off the top of my head, and I don't have the roster memorized yet. I apologize. Then, so the defensive line is at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, the man of the hour, and the guy that will have to convince everyone that Riley made the right choice by keeping him around. At 2 o'clock, the defensive backs will be coming in with defensive coordinator Alex Grinch and cornerbacks coach Dante Williams. Who are they bringing? You got Anthony Beavers, you got Kalen Bullock, Jacoby Covington, Damani Jackson, Christian Roland Wallace, Bryson Shaw, Jalen Smith, Max Williams, and Sierra Wright. Maybe we should have given this group an hour. It's a lot of guys. So again, this is one of the reasons why one position group at a time and the media isn't getting spread out and everybody kind of gets a good opportunity to talk to everybody. I would say that, this is probably one of the deeper, more competitive groups on defense on the roster. And I think everybody agrees that they're going to have to be better than last year. So, again, very competitive. Who's going to be, who's going to step up and be the starter this year? Last year it was Sia Wright. He ended up getting replaced towards the back end of the season. I don't think Christian Roland Wallace left Arizona to sit on the bench. We'll see what happens. Can Jacoby Covington hold off Sia Wright again? Is Damani Jackson going to be the guy on one side of the ball? I mean, he was the number one guy coming out of high school. And if he has the confidence in his surgically repaired knee, boom. It's not often that you have a guy that has Olympic speed playing cornerback. USC's had him in the past. We'll see if they do better this time around. And then the last group comes in at 2:30ish. You've got the linebackers and the rush ends. So Coach Roy Manning and Brian Odom, they're bringing along Rajon Davis, Eric Gentry, Romello Height, Shane Lee, and Jamil Muhammad. Just a reminder why Mason Cobb isn't there. He was in Vegas for Pac-12 Media Day, so he gets to be excused. Now, as far as these guys that are showing up, at the linebackers, rush end, outside linebacker, should we bring a scale to have Eric Gentry step on and get the actual weight? I'm kidding. We're going to take his word that he's gained the weight that he claims. And is Jamil Muhammad, is he the forgotten guy, or is he going to be the guy to step in? We know he's an athlete. I mean, out of high school, he was going to play quarterback at Vanderbilt, and then someone saw the light and said, hey, you need to switch to the other side of the ball and play rush end. Is that going to be the guy? Is Romello Height healthy? Can he do it? And is Rajon Davis, is he ready to keep the freshman Taka Curtis at arm's length? We know that Cobb and Gentry are going to, unless something weird happens, and we won't say the I word, I think everybody anticipates Mason Cobb and Eric Gentry being the starting linebackers. And then Rajon Davis and Shane Lee going too deep. After that, it's anybody's guess. So out of everybody that I just mentioned, from all those defensive guys throughout the different groups, which guys are you most excited to hear from? Let me know, and I will try and focus a little bit of my energies over there. Fortunately for me, I'm going to have some help. Again, when I'm not over here on Locked on USC, and when you're not watching Locked on USC first thing every day, you're heading on over to weareusc.com, because I'll have Eric McKinney. I'll have Scott Schrader there. Greg Katz will also be there. So I'll be able to have insights and angles from everybody. So if I miss somebody, I got some help. You're not going to miss a thing here on Locked on USC. That's for sure. We've got you covered. And that's why you come here every day. All right, I got a question, and we've talked about this throughout the summer, but we're getting really close to fall camp. Like Friday, first practice. So which position group, we're going to narrow this down, which position group will a freshman eventually crack the starter's lineup? Okay. If I'm making a decision, or if I'm making a guess, I think the rush end position is the group on defense where it's going to happen. Number one, that's the rush end position is the group on defense that's supposed to make this engine go. I mean, at least that's where the juice is supposed to come from. Create pressure, get into the offensive backfield, disrupt that offense. Get to the quarterback, make the running back change his first direction. And when you do that, it makes everybody's job on defense easier, especially the secondaries. They don't have to defend as long, because the quarterback now, has to get rid of the ball sooner. We know the defensive line needs to step up. But as far as the rush end, it's time for this position to make something happen, or just ditch the scheme. Get rid of it, because it's not working. So if there is going to be a freshman that takes a position, it's going to happen here. We've seen a little bit of the guys who were around last year. Romello Height, we saw him for not even a full game's action. He He got kicked out for targeting, and the next game he just, his shoulder. So you have that. Solomon Byrd, we know what he's capable of. He's played very well in spurts, but I just don't know if Solomon is going to be the guy. Maybe he will be. I'd love to be proven wrong. What we saw in the spring was Sam Green get a head start. And he showed what he's capable of. Remember, he didn't come in to USC as a rush in, stand up outside linebacker. He came in defensive lineman, hand in the dirt. So we know he's got a head start. We know he has an opportunity. There's a couple of other big athletes who have already arrived. They're getting ready to show us what they're capable of once fall camp starts. Braylon Shelby, he already has a college-ready body. If you've seen some of his social media out there in the USC workouts, freaky athlete. Freaky athlete. Big, strong, can jump. You got DJ David Peavy from San Diego. And I don't think he's that far behind Braylon Shelby as far as his body being ready to make a contribution. I think by the second half of the season, that's when someone's going to take over that role. Because Anthony Lucas, you saw him play rush in the spring game. I don't think that's where they want him. I think they want him playing defensive end. So if one of the older players can't get the job done, then look, it's either coaching or the scheme, because something ain't right. You can't miss that many times with player evaluations, right? Right? So if it's not the player, it's got to be the scheme. I think we're going to see that USC has better personnel in year 2 to make it work. It has to. Right? So which freshman do you think is going to eventually find themselves in a starter role this year? And it's going to happen on defense. It's possible to happen on offense. I would say maybe at wide receiver, maybe at running back. I don't think it's going to happen at quarterback or offensive line. Let me know. What do you think? I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. And again, we're going to start looking more at what to anticipate with fall camp. I might have some more Pac-12 Media Day fallout. So come on in, check it out. Whatever I do, I'm always going to have an opinion. And that's why you need to make a Locked on USC your first listen every day. So until I see you tomorrow, everyone, you know what to do.